Hi, Assalamualaikum and a very good day to all my viewers. My name is Nur Afika binti Muhammad Halim. I am from Universiti Sultan Zainal Abidin taking Bachelor degree of Science with honor of Aquatic Science. Today, I would like to make a video about flood hazard modeling and flood forecasting under subject Riverine Management and Flood Mitigation. These are the contents in my video. Firstly, we will go through the definition of flood hazard modeling and flood forecasting. Second, we will look at the importance of them. Next, we will learn how to implement flood hazard modeling and flood forecasting. And lastly, are the advantages and disadvantages of this flood hazard modeling and flood forecasting. There is a famous quote by Gilbert F. White where he said that flood are acts of God, but flood laws are largely causes of man. Now, let's jump into the definition. What is flood hazard mapping and flood forecasting? Flood hazard modeling, also known as flood hazard mapping, it is used to define those coastal areas which are at risk of flooding under extreme conditions. While flood forecasting is a process of estimating and predicting the magnitude, timing, and duration of flooding based on known characteristics of a river basin. An effective real-time flood forecasting models could be useful for early warning and disaster prevention. There are a lot of importance of flood hazard modeling. First, to improve flood risk management and disaster preparedness. Second, include changes in land use planning, implementation of specific flood-proofing measures, creation of emergency response plans. Third, assess a specific risk of the exposed area which take into consideration the socio-economic characteristics such as industrial activities, population density, and land use. Furthermore, flood hazard modeling is important in increasing awareness of the likelihood of flooding among the public, local authorities, and other organizations. On the other hand, flood forecasting also have many importance. First, to forecast flow rates and water levels for periods ranging from a few hours to days ahead depending on the size of the watershed or river basin. Second, flood forecasting is an important component of flood warning. And third, real-time flood forecasting models could be useful for early warning and disaster prevention. Next, how to implement flood hazard mapping. In flood hazard mapping, digital elevation models, which consist of the topography characteristics of the area and hydrological models, are important to simulate various flood events and their impacts. The data can be further supplemented by land cover data, soil data, and other data sets. For creation of maps and visualization tools, additional software such as ArcGIS will be required. While flood forecasting requires several types of data to be implemented, knowledge about the characteristics of a river's drainage basin such as soil moisture conditions, ground temperature, snowpack, topography, vegetation cover, and impermeable land area which can help to predict how extensive and damaging a flood might become. Now we move to the advantages and disadvantages of flood hazard modeling and flood forecasting. The advantages include to help inform emergency responses, help identify the scale of emergency and clean-up operations, promote greater awareness of the risk of flooding, highlight a requirement to defend these elements from flooding, identifies and protects wetlands, forests, or other ecosystems that could provide flood protection benefits, and provides necessary information to implement flood protection measures at sites with high pollution risk. However, flood hazard modeling and flood forecasting also have disadvantages. For example, they are likely to rely on complex numerical models due to the lack of observed extreme event data. This requires a degree of expertise to be implemented. Second, they maybe does not cause a reduction in flood risk because they must be integrated into other procedures. And lastly, if information on what to do in the event of an emergency is not provided, flood hazard maps may serve only to increase fear and anxiety as residents are more aware of the risk of flooding. The example of flood hazard modeling, according to Zainal and Liu 2003, Geography Information Systems (GIS) are frequently used to produce flood hazard maps. They provide an effective way of assembling information from different maps and digital elevation models. While for flood forecasting, most modern hydrological models can use precipitation input from various sources like rain gauges, radar, remote sensing, or simulated precipitation from numerical weather models. High-resolution satellite data are used for weather research and forecasting (WRF) model to provide high-resolution precipitation forecast. As we all know, flood is a disaster because it gives many impacts to us and the environment. For example, people can be injured or killed by flooding. Power supplies can be disrupted. Transport networks can be affected, such as flood damage to bridges, railways, and roads. Furthermore, homes and properties can be flooded. Flood water is often contaminated with sewage, which can lead to illness and affect clean drinking water. And lastly, people may have to move out of their properties until flood damage is repaired. As a conclusion, river floods can cause loss of life, devastating damage to properties, and adverse economic and environmental impacts. Although flood risk cannot be completely eliminated, real-time flood forecasting models, as an important and integral part of a flood warning service, can help to provide timely flood warnings with an adequate lead time for the public to minimize flood damages. That's all from me. Thank you for watching and see you next time.